the one, the only, Ben Land. Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube as we continue the last parak, Maseches Eiruvin. I don't know which one is worse, Nazir or Eiruvin. Nazir is Daf Yomi, Eiruvin is Mishnah Yomi. We're doing parak Yud, Mishnah Beis and Gimel. Mishnah Beis states, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Nos on the Chavero Asha Magila Chatzar Chitzona. Even though I didn't mention this yesterday, we said that we left off yesterday. If you find tefillin in a field, right, you try to bring them into the city, but obviously in that field, it's a problem of metaltal or sharam. So if it's a shas hashmad, right, where they'll kill you for wearing your tefillin. Really, the Mishnah recommends you're supposed to wear the tefillin, and if they'll kill you for wearing tefillin, so you don't do that. However, if there's just listim, there's just bandits over there, right? So, and you have to get them in quicker, so you could actually walk. Pachas midalat amos. The Gemara says this. You could walk 3 amos and stop. Walk 3 amos and stop. It's not malacha d'oraisa, it's malacha d'rabbanan. They allow that. Rabbi Shimon says, you could always do this. I'm sorry. He says you can never do pachas midalat amos because we're concerned if you do walk 3 amos, you'll eventually walk 4 amos. What you could do is you can give it to your friend, right? When you give it to your friend, so you're doing the akira, he's not doing an akira, so therefore he could do it, and he could give it to his friend, right? And eventually, because if you do this, it'll be you'll remember about Dalet Amos more than if you do it yourself. So you give it to your friend, he walks less than Dalet Amos, he gives it to another friend. So therefore, in that case, when there's more people, they'll remind each other they won't carry Dalet Amos. So he's more machmir Rishimon. But no, let's say you have a child in the middle of the field. There's no hospitals around, and your child obviously is you can't carry if there's no Eruv. No, so the chavera feel meya. Even 100 people, you can give it less than Dalet Amos. Rita says the same thing applies to a barrel of wine, right? In the field, you can give it to many people, right? Because Havaras Dalet Amos, right? You don't have because each person is doing less than Dalet Amos. The reason, right? Yeah, right. So the chiddush over here is that the barrel you found the barrel of wine, so therefore it doesn't have a tchum. So therefore, even outside the tchum, that's the chiddush. Amrulo, they said to Rabbi Yehuda, lo tahalazu yosem ragle ba'alel. Even if you found it, so therefore once you found hefker, it's hefker at the beginning of Shabbos. Hefker is kona shvisa. It's machlokas whether hefker is kona shvisa or not. Meaning, does hefker have 2,000 amos or not? Does the tchumen apply to it or not? Rudahol doesn't apply to it. The other Rabbanan held it does apply to it, and therefore once you pick it up, you only have 2,000 amos from where it was. In order to metaltal, we pass on Rabbi Yehuda. It doesn't have shvisa, not kona shvisa, didn't belong to anybody. So therefore, you can carry it as far as you want, as long as you don't violate Havaras Dalet Amos Sharab, and that you avoid by giving it from friend for friend. Gimel Yakorah b'Sefer Ali Skufa. This Galgal Sefer Miyodo Golo Etzlo. He was reading a Sefer. They used to have Sefers written like a Sefer Torah, like parchment, which had a Megillah, right? He's reading Ala Skufa. He's reading on, people have like a little porch in front of their. When I lived in Queens, we had a little porch in front of our door. So that's considered, it's not considered Rosh Hashanah, it's not considered Sharab. Rosh Hashanah is the street. Rosh Hashanah is inside the house. So you're reading on there. There's Gaga Sefer Miyado, and by accident, the Sefer falls from his hand, but you're still holding on to one, and it just unravels. Golo Etzel, you can roll it back to yourself. We'll see in a second under what circumstances. He was on the roof, and it's Gaga Sefer Miyado. So now he's a little higher. If you're on a skufa, right? So technically, if it didn't get within 10 tefachim of the ground, you could. And here, this is where the Gemara says you're on the roof, right? So this is more common where the scroll might be above 10 tefachim from the ground. If the second half, the unraveled one, didn't get to 10 tefachim of the ground of the sharabim, everyone agrees you could roll it back to you. Once it gets within 10 tefachim of the ground, you can't roll it back to you, because even though it's only a problem either Rabbanan, she'egdo b'yado. You're holding one hand in the saver. It's not really taltal from Rab. Once it's in 10 tefachim or Rosh Hashanah, so it's in Rosh Hashanah, but even though you're doing an akira from Rosh Hashanah, but it's already in your hand, so you're not really doing a malacha over here. However, we're concerned that you'll come to roll it, even you come to move it from Shiyachid to Shizram to Shiyachid, even when it's not Egda Biyada, when you're not holding on to it. Therefore, you have to be Machmir, and you flip it over so that the Ksav, the written parchment, the written side, is not facing outward, at least covered partially, because of Bizayon. You don't want the Kisvei HaKodesh to be Mevuza, to be embarrassed. Rabbi Yehuda to be disgraced. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, I feel like even if it's not exactly on the ground, a little tefach, a little bit more from the ground. It's not exactly lying on the ground. Golo, that's even if it's within 10 tefachim, you could. We're not goes there. Rabbi Shimon Omer, I feel about Eretz Atzmo Golo, that's though. He says even if it's on the ground itself, again, once it's egdo biyado, there's no more possibility of violating anything more than an Isser D'Rabbanan, so therefore they weren't goes there. We don't pass in like Rabbi Shimon. We happen to paskin like I think the Tana Kama, not like Rabbi Yehuda either, that it has to be with less than 10 tefachim. So within 10 tefachim, right? So then it's a problem. Now the Gemara says talk about a case where it's resting. If it's not resting at all, so there's no akira and there's no anacha, no one says it's a problem. We're talking about where it's within 10 tefachim and it's resting. It's a sloped roof, and therefore it's resting on the bottom of the roof, which is in 10 tefachim on the ground. So therefore, there's an akira. When I try to roll it back, it's resting. So I picked it up. However, there's no hanacha because it was already in my hand. So there's only half of a malacha over here. So that's when ragozer. But if it didn't rest, no one says ragozer, and that's the halacha. Stay tuned for Eiruvin and Tzion, where I discuss exactly why the Chamor Machmer over here, even though normally by Kisvei HaKodesh, they allowed Yisrael D'Rabbanan. Masechah Shabbos talks about that. You're allowed to save Kisvei HaKodesh from a Dleika. You're allowed to carry it outside your house, even though there's no Ervei Chatzeros and things like that. We'll talk about the differentiation over here, why the Rabbanan were Machmer over here. Ian Mitzion coming up next.